And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be talking about the Righteous Gemstones Season 2, Episode number 8. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a like, leave a comment. And I don't really know where to start. Like, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. I guess let's talk about the opening, the little opening sort of flashback scene, because I thought it was pretty cool. We basically learn we already knew that Junior's father was a piece of shit, but he really was like, he his son basically wants to take over the business. They make some kind of agreement to sort of sell some of his assets in order to get this money. Now we know he took the money to Eli, and that's what he was trying to get him to run through the church, but he literally held a gun on Junior and just took the money. This leads to the jumping ahead to the end when Eli and Junior have their little moment and Eli explains what happened. Junior's sort of cool with it. He's just like, all right, cool, you know. But yeah, the sort of Junior stuff, it's all playing out exactly like I think we predicted.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is it was just interesting because episode one, when you see what Junior was like as a kid, you would assume he would be the monster that his dad is, but Junior seems a lot more mellow from what we saw, uh, and it seems clear that they were sort of semi legit when Junior was trying to take over the business, and that Junior's a much better person than his father was.
Yeah, and it even to me it looked like what the wrestlers were trying to do on Junior's behalf, like throwing the tomato and everything. We even said that from the get go, they don't seem very organized, crime-ish. It's almost like Junior doesn't want to be a piece of shit. He still wants to make money, and he still feels like he wants to be a crime boss, but not really. Because even in the flashback, he was like, "Come on, Daddy!" Like he was it. He never really lived up to that kind of persona. He just he doesn't have that feel to him, and by the end of this, when he was talking to Eli, it felt more along the lines of he's not only is he not the bad guy, he was okay with Eli doing what he did because he didn't like his dad either. And at the end of the day, he felt more akin to Eli than he did his own dad.
And it was sort of interesting that Eli was, even hinting like, hey, that money is rightfully yours. Maybe you'll get a piece of it or all of it. Like he was sort of hinting at that he was going to help out Junior. But then I just love the fact that Eli was, felt, you know what, you came at me to try and kill me. I forgive you. It's all good. We're good. And then that's when Junior's like, dude, no. He's like, what are you talking about? That wasn't me. Um, and we know that the assassins refused to talk. They were young. They escape in the end, and I'm still believe that it's the listens. What are your guys' thoughts on the biker ninjas or whatever you want to call them?
Definitely the listens, because think about where we're at. They just escaped without saying who they worked for. Eli just approved giving the listens their money for the place and everything. Jesse's going to be at a point where he puts two and two together, and that check is still in play in some sense, and have to escape or fight off the listens, and get back with the knowledge he has, or get away from them in some way. It definitely seems like it's being set up to be the listens. Also, we've seen them gone for an awfully long time.
Yeah, several episodes. And that was a big storyline to set up and then just drop for like 4 episodes.
Right?
Yeah,
And you don't pull in Eric Andre just to, do that for a throwaway plot.
I don't know. They brought in Jason Schwartzman for
That's true. That's true. That's true.
but I think that he's going to come. Like we've talked about it before, I think that we're going to find out in this last episode what actually happened. And the fact that they blew up the jail to get them out, I think that's how we're going to find out what happened with Thaniel. Is the whole explosive thing happening uh, feels like I won't say foreshadowing because the Thaniel thing happened before, but kind of like a callback to that. Uh,
Right.
and,
And the car was riddled with bullets too.
yeah,
Yep.
and I think all of these things are pointing towards it being the same crew. And I've felt like it was the Listens, but I I don't know because
Well, if
with
they thought they were going in as business partners, maybe they were like, "All right, we know this guy's there. We're going to take care of him."
there was something that happened with God damn it, what's the kid's name?
Theo Vaughn.
No,
He needs to be in this show. The kid, which kid? Kelvin?
no, Jesse's kid,
Oh,
Oh,
Gideon.
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 Gideon. I kept wanting to call. I thought it was a G, but I couldn't think of Gideon for whatever reason. But in the very first season, it was his little stunt crew that came after the money to begin with. Him going head to head with these people, it felt like he knew them. Um, and I don't think that he's in on this whole thing, but explosions and the bicycle or not bicycle. I don't know why I keep saying bicycle. This is like the 18th time I've called the motocross bicycles, but the whole motocross chase and the dirt bike and jumping over everything feels more Hollywood stunt oriented than the Listens. Now that doesn't mean that the Listens aren't funding this, and I think that they're still a part of it. But I think the people doing it, Gideon knows.
Well, yeah, it could be the sort of thing too that, like the motocross kids and stuff, that's part of the Listens whole youth ministry thing, because we see like, oh yeah, they put up a big show, they play guitar and they have like the Jonas Brothers and you know
Lincoln Park, dude.
yeah, yeah, may need to look back and see if like was anybody like doing any sort of like motorcycle tricks or anything in the background during that whole scene where they're showing Jesse and his wife around, because that may be a hint to whether or not it's them. But it really feels like it's them. It may involve Gideon's past in some way, because but I feel like if he saw their face, he would know. Either way, I feel like in order to tie things together, we're due for another flashback episode. Just to, like you all said, go back to that cabin and see what actually happened.
There's only one left, so they'll have to do it in the next. I do think we will get a flashback to show us what went down in that scene. Absolutely, but yeah, man, there's only one left. Um, yeah, this story's winding down. The let's see here. Kelvin, that's a quick one. He got his house back. That was, he took the cross. I loved Keith in that scene. That was great. I like that they were doing pretty much. I think Larry, you've said it a million times. It's like it's your house. Just
It's
tell
your
them,
house.
just go. And they were just like, dude, you could have told us to leave. We would have just left. Um. So yeah, we got the Kelvin stuff. Any thoughts on that? I didn't have a whole lot on that.
I don't think plot wise it was super important, but I do think for Calvin's character growth, it was super important. Uh, him kind of mending his relationship with his dad, him kind of taking charge and legit taking charge. It always felt like a facade. It always felt like it was fake, the fact that he was taking control. The whole cross bit was supposed to be a bit that nobody could do. He was basically making it so that no one could question his authority. And then you had Torsten, who's this giant of a man who was able to carry this cross, down this, I don't want to say sand pit, but that's basically what it was, and uh, put this stone cross into this pedestal and be able to lift it. It was supposed to be this feat that he knew that nobody could do, and that was the reason he was doing it. So for him to reconcile with his dad and then battle his own demons and lift this monument, this cross, it felt like almost like a metaphor for this burden that was on him. Uh, I felt like it was character growth for Kelvin, but to me, plot wise going forward, as far as the God Squad or whatever, I think that it was literally just character growth for one of the characters.
Yeah, and like you said, it's it normally when a plot just kind of goes nowhere like that, it is annoying. Like there's a certain plot line from episode 8 of Star Wars that I complain about constantly because it just literally goes nowhere and circles back. But for Kelvin, for who Kelvin is, that makes sense. That his ego is the only thing that's stopping this. From him from figuring out. I can just kick them out of this is my house. My dad isn't going to give them this house. This guy doesn't own it because he's stronger than me. He has to prove it. But it added a little something extra that he actually could move that cross, because that was, like you were saying, Spencer, unexpected, because it seemed like a task made to be impossible because he couldn't be usurped. So I think the assumption was in the early episodes, at least for me, that Kelvin definitely couldn't move that cross. Heck, I think my assumption was that he wasn't anywhere near as strong as any of those guys.
I sure as shit couldn't have lifted that cross. We get Judy and BJ taking Tiffany in, which I thought was fine. It was a nice little scene. She was gonna go back to her family. When she jumped off that tree, I don't know why that was so funny to me, but I guess because she was pregnant. But I laughed really hard at that. But they take her in, and I thought it was a sweet little moment. But where that scene, I think, where that's going to connect later is, um, we know who plays Harmon now.
Yeah.
So Macaulay Culkin, talk about a hell of a cameo. Baby Billy goes back to sort of reconcile with his son that he abandoned, um, and gets a little word of advice from him. And basically, I'm assuming he's going to go back to Tiffany and try and make things right. But that sequence, man, like how shocking was that? And I loved how he was like, "Yeah, we can reconcile if I can punch you in the face." I thought that was great. But yeah, Macaulay Culkin, Harmon.
I said this prior to recording when we were all talking about this episode. I was watching the whole, sequence, and prior to that, I was just like, well, I'll just grab something to eat real quick. So I just walked into the kitchen, and I could hear what was going on. So I turned the volume up so I could hear from the other room, and I could hear, Walter Goggins. I could hear Baby Billy walking up, giving his little speech, and I heard my wife just say, "Did you know that Macaulay was going to be in this?" And I said, "What?" I came sprinting back around the corner and was, genuinely surprised that this was the reason they were keeping it under wraps. It was not on IMDb. It was not on any of these things. It just kept saying Harmon's wife and Harmon's son, but it didn't say who Harmon was on IMDb. And I was like searching for who it was going to be. I figured it was going to be Keith, and that's the reason they were trying to keep it secret. And then all of a sudden, Macaulay comes up, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, like you said, I agreed with your key theory and everything, and it seemed like it did make a lot of sense. Like, but Macaulay Culkin was a good touch too, and also he has all the mannerisms down that you've seen with Harmon in the flashbacks, and I also love just like that he's not trying to, but he's still Baby Billy, so he still says the shit that Baby Billy would say. He's inadvertently shit talking him the whole time.
Dude.
He's like, damn, son, I think you'd be able to hit like that, given you grew up without a daddy and all.
When he was talking about, man, it's fancy. You got a couch with
Cup holders
cup
in
holders
it.
in it.
holders and everything. You made it, son.
Well, even me and Megan were saying that she was just like, that's his standard for making it is cup holders. Like
You got a couple cup holders in the couch. Yeah, and hopefully knowing that there is a third season greenlit, and like I said, I'm assuming Baby Billy's going to go back to Tiffany, get his family going, but maybe he'll reach out and we'll get some more Harmon in season 3. That'd be great. Macaulay Culkin coming in.
What if Harmon shot Thaniel? He seems like a man that doesn't like his peace disturbed, and Thaniel seemed to talk to everybody, including Junior. I don't think it's possible, but like just I mean, hell, we know he's got a violent side.
I still want to know what Thaniel has, information wise.
That is the main thing I want to know from that cabin scene, not just who did it, but more so the information that he had. And I guess that'll be like our big, that may be what spins us into season 3, whatever information he had.
I want to talk about, it's like one of the last things in my notes, but there's been sort of a little storyline running for 2 or 3 episodes now with Amber, Jesse's wife, about sort of her being called out, called a gold digger, basically said, oh, you don't give a shit about Jesse. You married into this because of the money. That was sort of teased, with Judy. And then this episode, she was straight called it, and you could see the look on her face and her sort of almost re-examining her situation. Like, where do you think they're going with that storyline? Because it looks like they keep bringing that up. And even going back to earlier in the season, one of the things she was really pushing for, not only does she want Jesse to step up and take over, but because she wants to be by his side. So this is all, she's a part of all this. And, how does she look at herself in terms of her value in the family, what her goals are? I feel like they're setting something up for the character, but I'm not completely sure what.
What if all of the listen stuff, not Baby Billy being the red herring or even Junior, but what if the listens are the red herring and this whole time is Amber trying to kill Eli because she wants to take over?
Well, I thought you were going in a different direction. I thought you were going to say, like, what if it was Amber that set up Thaniel? Because what if she found out because he approached everybody, who's like, so of course he came to Jesse's house too. Like, what if she talked to Thaniel and she paid these kids? But then again, they came after. No, then again, that would mean she's trying to kill Eli too. Okay, so I see what you're saying there. Yeah, could be Amber.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that Amber, because with Gideon, she was so hell-bent on him not going back to Hollywood. She wants him to be part of the family. She wants him to. So it almost feels like she knows more than what she's letting on. And then for everything to happen the way it was, for her to shoot at these kids, for them to be kids, the youth group, it feels very.
The bus scene's the only reason that to me doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's because they were shooting at her.
Yeah, exactly. And she would have probably discouraged Jesse from getting on the bus if she knew that was planned. Like, but because Jesse was insistent that they were going to take the bus, or was that her that was? Well, one of them was. But where I think her plot line is going, especially since they've shown that she's very power hungry. She kind of, like you said, wants to control everything, this empire, her kids, what they do with their lives and everything. And even Jesse seems to be getting sick of it, as we saw in this episode. So perhaps we're going for an ending where she's not the one that wants the separation. It's Jesse who's like, I'm sick of it. We're splitting up. Or maybe this marriage becomes more of a thing for show, and they're being themselves in the public eye, for the power. Whereas season 3, they've both got someone else on the side. but they're staying together for public appearances.
I could see that.
They pull a Bill and Hillary.
I would say, is that what?
Nobody wants to talk politics. Everybody got quiet.
I don't think, regardless of whether you like Bill or Hillary, their marriage seems to be one of political importance.
Well, just I could talk all day about what I think's going on there, but like I don't know. I think that's a legit marriage, but we won't go into the politics of it.
But yeah, the Amber. Yeah, it just feels like they're setting something up. I'm not sure what. Yeah, like you said, whether or not it's a divorce or where they go with it, but they've taken time to bring it up multiple times. That's about it. Like I said, we've only got one more episode, so they got to wrap all this up. Technically, they don't have to wrap it up. They could end on a huge cliffhanger, knowing that they've already greenlit season 3. So that's a big possibility. We may not get a truly wrapped up season.
Well, I think the listens will be the thing that, even if they're involved, they're the one pulling the strings. I think that we'll find out more about Thaniel. I think that we'll get some kind of. I don't think that we'll wrap up the whole Amber thing, but I think that the Amber Jesse thing will be a huge issue that will be at least brought up through the rest of this episode. But I think the Thaniel, the explosions. I was trying to say listens and explosions at the same time. The explosions, what happened with the Thaniel stuff, and the information that brought all that stuff to life. And I also think that who the motorcycle gang is will all be brought up. So I think that hopefully that'll be wrapped up. But I think the listens and Jesse's relationship might be the things that carry over to season 3.
Well, yeah, and I also think in this last episode they may have an argument, Amber and Jesse, about Gideon getting to go to where was he saying he wanted to go? Was it Atlanta or
Atlanta?
Yeah, I thought so. See, it felt weird because it felt like it'd be more natural for him to say back to Hollywood and do this or that, but he said Atlanta. But yeah, I think they're going to argue about that because it seems like Jesse's getting a little fed up himself of holding his tongue on certain issues.
Well, we'll find out Sunday night on HBO. How they wrap this up, one episode. Yeah, we'll be reviewing the final episode. Check out we got 1883, we got Snowfall, we got Big Sky. Check out all the stuff we got on the channel. Appreciate everyone listening. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.